it's really the young leading the young in this game, and I think you hit on it. You know, Steph Curry revolutionized the game, and Clay revolutionized the game with their ability to shoot. But everybody is not Steph and Clay, and I think everyone thinks they are Steph and Clay, and that trickles down all the way to grassroots. So I mean, you're seeing the Boston Celtics shoot 53s on average, which is insane to me. So
please stop it.
Yeah, the style of play has really gotten nasty. We've got away from really just man movement, ball movement, running certain sets and executing to just running down the court and firing threes. To me, it's just a glorified pickup game. And I just think that's really turned off, audiences.
Hey, it's 2025, but I still got my 2024 fit on. You dig what I'm saying? Samaria Terry.
Wait, hold on. That outfit look real familiar.
Listen, if I bought it, I'm gonna wear it. And if I stole it from a music mogul who might be in prison right now, then I'm still gonna wear it, even if I stole it from him. I'm not telling. Samaria, what's up? How you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you doing, Rodney? How's your spirit, see?
My spirit is good, so I'm wearing this all white because I'm all right. Not to say that white is right. I don't want nobody to misconstrue my words, But I'm feeling angelic.
Okay, good. Because we have a fun episode for you all today. We got Matt Barnes.
Yes.
Later on, come on.
It was
good
for
too.
Sure. It's a good one, man. I'm looking forward to that, and just bonding with my sister, man. You ready to talk some sports?
Let's do it.
Let's kick this year off right.
So last week we had our year in review highlighting all the best moments from 2024, but now we're officially in 2025. So let's look forward, starting with sports leagues. Of course, we have soccer, basketball, football, baseball, and hockey. Rodney, which sport will be the next major league?
You missed one. You missed the one with the highest ceiling. There is a new league that started in 2024, and it is the Professional Volleyball Federation, an all-women's volleyball league. And I'm not saying it to be nasty. I'm saying it because there is a lot of potential in this league, which was founded coincidentally by former NFL player Trent Dilfer. So the PVF is a league that was started to give collegiate volleyball players a professional aspiration here in the States while being compensated at an adequate level. This year they have 8 teams, right? But even before I had heard about this league, I heard about a swell of energy and a surge of energy around volleyball. I have several friends whose children were playing the sport, and I'm seeing the competitiveness as these young ladies navigate trying to acquire college scholarships, which many of my friends' children have gone on to do, right? But there's a part of women's volleyball that leads in, or that fuels and feeds the thing that most men who watch women's sports are looking for. And that, of course, is the beautiful women that also are highlighting, by virtue of their uniforms, their bodies. I don't mean to sexualize these women, but I'm telling you, there is something to be said about men being able to see women play sport. I know I hate it, but there is something to be said about it. Men are disgusting human beings. We're cretins and we're low lives, all of the things. But a league that has athleticism, legitimate athleticism, that also features beautiful women, and we're also able to somewhat see the shape of their physicality, I think has the potential to do numbers in this current climate that we're living in.
Okay. I would say a league that we don't have that I would love to see is a softball league. I think that when we get around to the tournament, come on, Rodney, you're not watching softball?
That is the complete antithesis of what I just described for the PVF.
When is the last time you watched softball? When is the last time you watched the NCAA tournament in softball?
When I think of Rosie O'Donnell. When I think of softball, I think of
No. It gets so competitive and it's so good around the NCAA tournament. And you have powerhouses like Oklahoma, Tennessee always has a good team, Florida State, Georgia, just to name a few. The girls are good. And I would love to see them go on to play in a league and have teams around the country. And I think that it'll do well. I really do.
I'm going to be honest. The brothers ain't tuning in for that. We gonna be late.
They tune in for the NCAA tournament. Why are you forgetting that?
The uniforms, they got the gray pants.
Okay, first of all, it's not all about the uniforms.
But it's a part of it.
Okay, and I think their uniforms are cute.
Stop. All right, we can't be honest, then we can't talk.
No, I'm really being honest, Rodney. They do have one cute, and the girls are really in shape, and they have one form fitting like pants. What are you talking about?
All right, cool. Also,
You all let us what?
we need a secondary basketball league outside of the NBA because there's way too much basketball talent in the world and not nearly enough roster spots. We need a secondary league in the United States, and not the little brother G League team, but a league that is competitive and that makes sense, and that plays basketball during a time period in which American sports are centered around football. So, right, they need that June, July calendar when it's just baseball on TV. We need a basketball league for the summer.
Okay, what about the flag football league getting big? Could that be the next major league?
Only if Rodney Rikai is in it.
Well, you all let us know down in the comments. Which sport do you feel like will have the next major league here in the United States?
Gotta have Rodney Rikai in it.
All right, Rodney. Moving along, is homophobia still in existence in American sports? As of today, we've never seen a dominant gay male athlete. Why do you think that is?
Well, I'd imagine we're talking about like in the primary sports, basketball and football.
Yes.
There've been some gay track runners and divers, swimmers, stuff like that. So I think that I think we're in a place and time in society where this is okay. I don't think that this person would feel too unprotected. Of course, there's going to be people who say things, right? But there has been a huge historical this swaying of gay people, of gay men especially, because women don't have to deal with this, but of gay men participating in sports. And it's not even necessarily because of how they perform on the field or court or wherever. It's because of the locker room element. And I think historically, a lot of men have been extremely uncomfortable with the idea and prospects of showering with a teammate who might like men, right? Because for whatever reason, men are just so sensitive, and they think that because a man is gay, that he's going to want to be sexual with them. And I think that one, that's just stupid, right? It's a stupid way of thinking. But I think there is a shift going on in society that, people are more comfortable with the idea of someone's sexuality not being the sole characteristic and attribute of who and what they are. And so I think I think in the very near future, not too far, because I have a 16-year-old son, and I watch the way, he and his friends communicate and talk, the way that some of these young boys are flat out like, yeah, like I deal with men, and they're no different than any other child. It's none of that. They're just like, yeah, like I date men, and that's what I do. And so I think that this new generation of boys, unquestionably, we will have a gay athlete that comes from the ashes of homosexuality and is rainbowing on cats all over the place. Take my rainbow.
Yeah, I feel like people will be open in the future, but I don't know how accepted they'll be and how that will affect them in the space. I'm really worried about that. And also, I feel like maybe some men are scared. I'm just throwing this out here, are quote unquote scared of gay men because they know how they move in spaces, and they know that somebody could dominate over them. Just saying.
That's wild. Okay. What I'll say is, yeah, I am looking forward to the first like superstar gay male athlete in football or basketball, because I think that it's time. It's similar to how it's just time.
I mean, it is time, but I don't know if we'll see it. I don't know if society, maybe not society's ready, but I don't know if those spaces are ready. I really don't.
Half the guys who I know style NBA, NFL players are gay. Like, there is, of course, homophobia that exists in the world, but I think some of the idea that men are inherently more homophobic is a bit antiquated. A lot of these people have gay men on their team. And, I think that we have to give credit and reverence to the growth and evolution of men around sexuality and sexual orientation. It's not what it was you know, 10, 15, 20 years ago even. You know, it's
Yeah.
not like Tim Hardaway Sr. who went on a rampage talking about how he hated gay people. That sentiment, by and large, does not exist. And if you were to make that statement in 2024, people would look at you like you are insane.
Well, think about like
Insane.
Michael Sam in the NFL.
He wasn't good though.
He wasn't good, and I think he was very open to. I don't know if that hurt or helped him.
Yeah. All right. Well, just as long as they can take a joke, we good, man.
No, and now we're going to HR.
If I can't make fun of you as my teammate, then this is not a real bond, and that can be a point of contention more so than your sexual orientation.
And that's
if you
what
just
I'm
think
saying.
you're above,
I think that that's where it's going to be very tricky because people are going to want to make jokes.
All right. Well, you all let us know your thoughts in the comments section. Do you feel like society is ready for a superstar gay athlete in one of our major American sports? Let us know by dropping your thoughts in the comments section.
All right, folks, we've got a real one joining us today. He's an NBA champion who brought intensity to every game, and now he's making waves off the court as the co-host of the hit podcast, All the Smoke. Y'all join us in welcoming the one and only Matt Barnes. What's up, cousin?
Hey, what up, y'all, man? Thank you for having me.
Man, we appreciate you being here.
No doubt,
Sure.
no doubt.
Man, out the gate, I want to ask you about something that I know is near and dear to your heart. I got to see highlights of Chatsworth versus Crespi High School just last week. Man, what a matchup. You had Elijah Arenas going against Peyton White and your sons, the twins.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you sitting there and you watching high-level high school basketball like that, right?
Yeah.
Do you get an inkling that this generation is just far superior than any generation that came prior as far as skill is concerned?
Skill level, absolutely. And it's dope for me. Obviously, Elijah and the twins are cousins. And I remember, changing Elijah's diapers. You know what I mean? That's how long I've been around Elijah now. And he's one of the top kids in the country. So to be able to see, these guys go at it at a high school level is really special. I think the skill level with this generation is super high. I think what this generation lacks, and this is not a blanket statement, but I think more times than not, I think they lack the basketball IQ. I think this generation is growing up with the ball in their hands and they're great at one-on-one and they work out with their trainers all day, every day, but they just don't play enough pickup basketball. So when you see kids without the ball, they're normally just standing there. They're not cutting, they're not screening, they're not flaring, they're not doing all the other things that you need at that next level. So that's one thing I really try, and I know Gilbert does for Elijah as well. Preach to our kids is just the mental side and understanding the complete game and understanding when you don't have the ball, you can be just as effective as you are with the ball with movement.
How hard is it for you, Matt, to sit and watch the game and not try to coach your boys?
No, I mean, I coach them in the summer, and I trust Derek to coach them during the regular season. Derek's their stepdad, and he's the coach of their high school team. So there'll be times during end of quarters or at halftime, I'll say things to them. But for the most part, I like to be able to sit back and just see them figure things out and apply things that we worked on in the off season or apply things that we worked on while training and see how that translates into real games. There's
a lot being said right now about the lack of quality basketball being played, not just at high school, but on the NBA level as well. There's way too, in my estimation, there's way too many 3-point shots. We lost a lot about the nuance of the game, right? How do you feel about the game currently, and is there anything the league can do to improve the product on the floor?
That's a tough question. We talked about this the other day, and I think the NBA lacks storylines. You used to be able to grow with players starting, into their high school career through college and into the league. But now there's just a ton of young players coming from everywhere, and no one knows them. The league is so young now. I remember I'm dating myself, but I came back in the league in 2002. And when I came in the league, there were vets that were 38, 39, 40. Whether they contributed on the court was irrelevant because they helped so much bridge gaps for younger players, communications between coaches. So now it's just it's really the young leading the young in this game. And I think you hit on it. Steph Curry revolutionized the game and Clay revolutionized the game with their ability to shoot. But everybody is not Steph and Clay. And I think everyone thinks they are Steph and Clay, and that trickles down all the way to grassroots. So, I mean, you're seeing the Boston Celtics shoot 53s on average, which is insane to me. So
please stop it.
Yeah, the style of play has really gotten nasty. We've got away from really just, man movement, ball movement, running certain sets and executing to just, running down the court and firing threes. To me, it's just a glorified pickup game. And I just think that's really turned off, audiences. The NBA viewership is down 30% this season. And, some of it is due to the style of play. I think some of it is due to you have to get every app to find games now. And also, I just think, some of these guys are making so much money and then not playing that turns off your consumer. Your fans that want to come out and watch, and expensive as it is to take a family of 4 or 5 to a game, and you're paying all this money, and then there's a good chance that the star might not even play. So, I just think some of the actions have turned off the common fan, but I just think overall it's definitely the style of play. Again, Steph's ability to shoot has won that team 4 championships, but everyone that's trying to mimic, and the NBA is a mimic and copycat league, don't shoot like him.
And we know that the NBA is trying to do everything possible to get that viewership back. They have the in season tournament, they're partnering with FIBA. What do you feel like they could do to get people watching basketball again?
It's tough. I think the main thing is the style of play and the quality of play, and then obviously getting the stars to actually play throughout the season, which is hard. I mean, I came in the league, and I hate to sound like one of these old guys talking, but when I came in the league, it was a badge of honor to try to play all 82 games. You wanted to try to play as many games as possible. Only time I really sat out is when I was suspended. You want to try to play all games possible, and then you got to get ready for that second season, which is the playoffs, is when you really turn up. But now you're getting star players that are playing 45, 55 games out of an 82 game season, and then when they get to the playoffs, they still end up getting hurt. So I just don't think this generation drinks enough milk. We used to drink that vitamin D cow milk back in the day, and I said that. Hey, these kids don't be drinking that vitamin D, man.
Yo, so it's the almond milk. The almond milk is making the kids soft,
making these kids too soft, man. It's crazy.
Yo, speaking of kids, right? AJ DeBenster just signed with BYU for a reported $5 to $7 million. Matt, at 18, would you have been able to be a college student and not get any cheeks for a full year?
What?
If you're giving me that kind of money, I would try my hardest not to. But college is when you crack. That's the first time you're not in your parents' house and girls are walking around and you're on the basketball. I mean, at UCLA it was nuts because my freshman year at UCLA was the NBA lockout, so we were one of the biggest shows in town. So I couldn't imagine that my freshman year not being able to wiggle the way I wiggled. But for 5 to 7,
wiggle is crazy.
5 to $7 million, man, I would have thought about it. But I was talking to some of my college homies, and I remember when we'd get our Pell Grants, 25, 3,500. You couldn't tell it.
You was up. You was lit.
But can you imagine having even $1 million, $500,000, $250,000? I couldn't imagine having that kind of money with no real guidance. And I'm all for guys making money. I just think there needs to be guidance. But I do feel like AJ is one of those guys that sees the bigger picture and understands that this is just a pit stop, and he's going to put in his work and do what he has to do and be the number one pick. But I think NIL as a whole and the collective as a whole, it's great, but it's also the Wild Wild West. I always think players should be paid because these schools are making so much money, but I don't feel like it comes with any guidance, any structure. And then also, do you take your foot off the gas if you're making 200, 300, 2 million, 3 million? Like, we had to grind to get that. These kids are getting it before the real grind even starts. So to me, how do you stay motivated and disciplined? So I hope that some of these kids have strong circles around them and parents that can advise them and kind of guide them. But that's hard. We've all been that 18, 19, 20 where no one could really tell it. Man. Especially if you got more money than your parents. What is my mom and dad really gonna tell me?
What is your broke ass finna tell me, Dad? What you gonna say to me?
You asking to borrow money and still trying to give me life lessons. So it's just kind of hard, man. So I hope there's some way to figure this out. But I kind of feel with this blessing, because 99% of college athletes don't go pro. So with this blessing, it's going to help a lot of kids and their families. But I also think, and I don't want to be a hater by any means, but I think this will be a generation of busts because kids have too much too early, and then once you get to that league, no one's holding your hand, no one's telling you. You already have to have it figured out. And if it's been a cake, if it's been a skate up until the NBA, you're going to have a rude awakening when you get there.
The Knuckleheads podcast always asks this question, which I find interesting, right? They ask, who was the first person to bust your ass? I'm not worried about that. I want to know the last person that bust your ass that lets you know it might be time to hang them up.
It's time to go. It was probably Devin Booker. I was with the Kings right before the Kings traded DeMarcus, and I ended up going to Golden State. But Devin Booker, and throughout my career, I've always been the guy that had to guard the best player, from Kobe, Bron, KD, Melo, D Wade, you name them, I had to guard them. Paul Pierce, T Mac, to name a few. But hitting 37, 38, it's just like, oof, these young moving quick and
Yeah.
strong and efficient. I feel like I still could, although I retired, I retired at 37 after I was fortunate enough to win a ring with Golden State. And I felt like I could have still played a couple more years. I kept my body in shape. And one thing about me is I knew my role. I knew my role, and I was able to execute my role night in, night out. What took me away from the game was just my inability to see my kids. And, you go in, 15 years in this game, you sacrifice a lot, but I think the most thing you sacrifice is family, because you do have to be selfish to be able to last this long in the league. And I just knew that, the twins were growing up and I was missing first days and plays and games and just birthdays and opportunities that I'll never be able to get back. So, when I retired with still 2 years left on my deal. So I was still paid for 2 years after I left the game because I just wanted to be more of a dad.
Yeah.
Fire.
Speaking of podcast, obviously podcasts featuring athletes are blowing up right now. What do you think it is about shows hosted by athletes or former athletes that make them so relatable and popular?
I just think as a fan, which I am now, I want to hear from the horse's mouth. I mean, as great as the Stephen A. Smiths and the Skip Baylesses and the list goes on of guys that have, created their career in sports broadcasting and journalism and give great takes. These motherfuckers don't know what it's like to knock down free throws and send it to overtime, or what it's like to be in the playoffs, or what it's like to be down by 20 and get cussed out by your coach at halftime and come out and have a big third quarter. So I think fans just kind of really want to hear it from the guys who have done it at the highest level. You guys mentioned the knuckleheads, and I think they were maybe 6 to 8 months in this space before us. But I think when all the smoke came in this space, I think we really kicked the door open and kind of started shifting the narrative and really welcoming more people, more former athletes into this podcast space. And it's athletes and media have kind of taken over, and it's not just on the basketball side. It's heavy on the basketball side, but you're seeing it on the football side and you're seeing it on other sides. And I just think fans want to be able to hear it from the guys who really did it. So
y'all taking all the money, bruh.
There's some guys that, there's some guys that can do it, and there's some guys that are doing it that shouldn't be doing it. Not every motherfucker deserves a mic in front of their face. But
leave Kendrick Perkins alone. Come on, man.
You stupid. We live in a time and space, man, where anybody can speak now. And, again, with the shift, as I mentioned, you don't necessarily need these big companies no more. I was fortunate enough to be able to work for ESPN for 4 years and do some stuff with Fox, and then NBC with the Kings and do stuff with the Clippers. But with this new wave now, you don't necessarily need the big machine behind you. If you can talk your and make good points and articulate your ideas, I mean, you could be your own brand. And again, that's why I broke free from all that. And obviously with a successful podcast, we were able to launch All the Smoke Productions. So now we have a handful of shows under our company, and I'm pouring everything I have, all my resources and knowledge into our company. So again, it was a great opportunity for me. I learned a lot because I'm someone who tries to soak up game any chance I get, but I was able to bring all that experience and knowledge to my own company now, and now we're kind of running our things and doing our things. So it's been dope.
I'm saying this tongue in cheek, but I also mean it. If y'all need any help around there, you let a brother know.
For sure. For sure.
I was going to say that we're seeing players that are still in leagues doing podcasts. Yeah. That could be a little dangerous. What do you feel like your show would have been like if you and Stacks were still playing?
Oh, it would have been, I think it would have been to an advantage for us, because I think we were so misunderstood. And our careers, we caught the kind of the beginning of the social media wave. You know what I mean? I think probably 2012 or 13 is kind of when Twitter was popping and Instagram was just coming on the scene, because I came up in an era, whatever ESPN, Fox, or the newspaper said was the truth about athletes. And we really didn't have a platform to kind of speak our side. So the ability to kind of tell our side, and I think someone who's taken the most advantage of is Draymond Green. Similar to me, we're, very misunderstood from the outside looking in. You might not with him, you might not agree with him, but the team loves him. The teammates and the organization understand how important he was. And I was a similar player where, you would see a couple things or see me slap someone or cuss someone out and, he's an ass, he's this, he's that. But then you ask my teammates and, he's one of the best teammates I ever had. Whoop, whoop, whoop. So to answer your question, I think it would have been cool for us to have that platform. But at the same time, it's a slippery slope now, because you look at my brother, Paul George, who's been injured, and someone did a stat where bro had more episodes than games played. You know what I mean? So it's just like there's there's that slippery slope of, everyone has an opinion now, you know what I mean? And,
Yep.
and podcasts are here, and I don't think they're going anywhere, and athletes are going to continue to dive into them, whether it's season, not, or whether you're a current athlete or former athlete. But to me, it just gets tricky. One, if you're not playing good well. Two, if your team's not doing well. Or three, if you're just not even playing, but you're still doing your podcast. So we live in a new time and a new era, which, I'm not a part of from being a professional athlete right now. But I've seen a lot of this talking and people like, oh, so you can do a pod, but you can't play type stuff. So it just, it kind of gets gray. And then, and I'm not even talking about anybody current, but we used to have some wild ass locker room talk. Does that talk leave the locker room now and slide onto a pod? So it's just, kind of the sacred areas are somewhat gone, because, the plane, the bus rides, the locker rooms used to be where we talk the most crazy and tell the most crazy stories. And now you're hearing a lot, although it's entertaining for people to hear these stories, you're hearing a lot of come out that probably shouldn't come out.
But yo, listen, we appreciate you so much. Thank you for your words, your wisdom. You have this unique ability of being like incredibly poised, but incredibly like real, which at times in the media is tricky. So
that's the weed, man. Blame that on the weed.
Yeah, thank you so much, Matt, for coming on the show. We don't have to tell you all to go check out his podcast, All the Smoke. I'm sure y'all are already watching it and listen to it, but also go and pick up his new book, All the Smoke, All the Stars, All the Stories, No Apologies. That is out right now. And don't forget to drop a comment below and let us know who you would like to see next on our show.
All right. Well, we appreciate you guys rocking with us. Once again, I am so excited for 2025 and all that we have in store for the Fumble. I am your guy, Rodney Rikai. She is
Samaria Terry.
Very scary Samaria Terry. You done had that cold for a month. We got to get you some oil of oregano now. Thank y'all for rocking with us. More on the way with the Fumble, man. Peace.